This week on Unscripted, news on Brock's status with WWE, how long is he back, and why was he kept from WWE TV for so long? Plus, update on Rey Mysterio, when is he expected in the WWE, and is HBK back for one more match? This and more on the future #1 podcast right here on YouTube.com. This is Unscripted. What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we're back again for Unscripted, episode number 37 for your Saturday, September 22nd, 2018. Yes, Unscripted is back to its normal Saturday time. Thank you all to who checked out Unscripted for last week. Hell in a Cell preview and predictions, of course, the Hell in a Cell review. Monday Night Raw killed it this week with at least 60 views, 67 views the last time I looked at it. Thank you guys for all that. SmackDown, NXT, and the Mae Young Classic are all on the channel. Make sure to go out and check out every one of those so you can keep up to date with my reviews for each show for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and of course the Mae Young Classic. Speaking of Monday Night Raw, not much really happened other than, Roman, Seth Dean, Roman. It's just becoming apparent even more and more that it is like WWE again. You gave him the title. Fine. Give Roman Reigns his title. You've done what you did with him. It's time to focus on others. Yes, you have the Authors of Pain with a new manager. You have the Authors of Pain winning against jobber teams. Why are these guys? And this is sad. You have Drake Maverick coming out on Tuesday, I think it was, before, it was after Monday Night Raw or Tuesday morning, with a video on YouTube or Twitter, giving a message to how the Authors of Pain are not going to be ignored. The Authors of Pain are the best tag team, not just in WWE, but the world. And it's sad that the only two other teams right now that could be legitimate threats to the Authors of Pain are Seth and Dean, Roman if you want to throw them in there too, so the Shield, and the Dogs of War. That's it. The Revival, if you would have told me the Revival would be able to handle the Authors of Pain in NXT, I would have said, sure, yeah, definitely. Not on WWE main roster. These guys have been jobbed out, were given a chance at the tag team titles, but was stolen by Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, so they're dead. You have the B team, which are not no threat whatsoever. Half of Breezango's out for the rest of the year. There's no, and Titus Worldwide is trash too, so there is no main tag teams unless you want to have Leo Rush and Bobby Lashley, which the reason, and Pro Wrestling Unlimited put a video out. I couldn't find the story, so I should have looked at the description. I don't know if they back up their claims or not, but there was a story going out that the reason Leo Rush is on Monday Night Raw is because he was putting out videos on his Instagram or Twitter, posting, or Snapchat too, posting videos of him cutting promos. Vince McMahon enjoyed them and saw that this guy actually can talk and put him on Monday Night Raw, which is great because Leo Rush, I could tell just from his promos for, seriously, Vince, you brought this guy to 205 Live. I know Triple H did. Obviously, he doesn't watch 205 Live because they had hype packages, hype videos with Leo Rush talking for his debut in 205 Live. Were you not watching those? Because I could tell you then that, yeah, this guy should be doing more than just being on NXT. I mean, not NXT, but being 205 Live. This guy should be doing something. So him being a manager works, especially because usually good managers, especially if he's going to be, if Bobby Lashley turns heel, which we'll talk about that later, good managers, especially heel managers, are there to help their client and also can take an ass kicking if they need to. Look at Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan would trip his guy's opponent. The guy, and sometimes Bobby Heenan would be stuck in matches against the Ultimate Warrior and whatnot. Leo Rush, yes, he can wrestle. The guy is athletic. The guy can move. but he is also going to be able to be a good heel, especially if Bobby Lashley does turn heel, a good heel manager for Bobby Lashley or anybody. And if you really want to make a tag team worth it, have Bobby Lashley turn heel. In the same breath, have Apollo Crews, who hasn't done anything since his main roster debut, but be stuck with Titus O'Neil and Titus Worldwide, have him turn on Titus when Titus is facing Bobby Lashley in a throwaway match. And that's the only reason Bobby Lashley would face Titus O'Neil, is to have a throwaway match where Apollo Crews turns on Titus O'Neil and joins the team of Bobby Lashley, and he is a client to Lio Rush. Because it's not fun, it's not fair to Apollo Crews because the dude really hasn't got to talk himself as much. I mean, he came up from NXT. He had a cup of coffee in NXT. I think Apollo Crews should have been in NXT for at least a year and a half. He was there for maybe 6 to 7 months. He made his debut at TakeOver Brooklyn, I think Brooklyn 1 or Brooklyn 2. And he came up the next WrestleMania. It's not even a year. He should have came up Survivor Series after the next Brooklyn, in which he was at least be able to get some seasoning. They brought him up because he's big. He's a big black dude with muscles. He's ripped and everything. He fits the bill of Vince McMahon. That's why he was brought up, and he never got to really establish himself in NXT. So having a guy like Lio Rush who can talk for Bobby Lashley, who, yes, in Impact Wrestling probably could talk as a heel, but WWE's scripting cannot let this guy talk. And Apollo Crews, that would be a tag team. And yes, I know they're going to be heels, but that would be another tag team to be legitimate for the tag team division. I know Bobby Lashley would like to be a single star, but it's better than being irrelevant and no one knows what to do with you. Him with Bobby Lashley, him with Apollo Crews could be a great foil for a babyface tag team. Anyone, I don't care, but definitely. Let's see what else we had. We had the Fallout, of course, from NXT, from the Hell in a Cell, which that was my best video in a good while with 60-some views. Thank everybody who actually watched it. I don't care if you watch 5 minutes of it, 20 minutes of it, it doesn't matter. I just appreciate it if you guys would hit that thumbs up. Thumbs down if you want to, too, and leave me comments below on what you think of, your views on what you think of WWE Monday Night Raw, which was not a good show. We went into Hell in a Cell, no expectations. Came out with a pretty good show that did lose points due to the Ronda Rousey-Alexa Bliss match, which, by the way, Alexa Bliss is out for the foreseeable future. We will talk about another injury later on that also affects the Mixed Match Challenge, and this injury is out for a lot longer than Alexa Bliss. And then we had that main event, which, if you watched my Hell in a Cell preview, I started off that with an audio clip of the crowd after the show went off the air, where they're all chanting, "This is bullshit," because the one of the few matches that should never end in a no contest ended in a no contest, and it just made no sense to me. But they did announce this past Monday that we will have Crown Jewel on a week, not even a week after Evolution. The next Friday after Evolution, we are having Crown Jewel. So, which, yes, Crown Jewel usually stands for cock and balls, but hey, whatever. So, that is where we're going to have Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, and Roman Reigns in a triple threat match for the Universal Championship. My question is Brock Lesnar coming back and to make, and we'll talk about that later, a lot of money to job? Is he going to take the pinfall for a Roman Reigns to put him over again? Or are they going to have Braun Strowman lose and just be irrelevant after that? I think it's either Braun Strowman needs to win in Saudi Arabia, or Brock Lesnar is going to lose to Roman Reigns, because you don't want to have, because for whatever reason, and we'll talk about Starrcade 2, which is coming back this year, again, has to be on the network. This one has to be on the network. But you have the Dogs of War versus Shield at Super Showdown, which is going to be at the beginning of October, and then there's the Starrcade is also going to be headlined by the Dogs of War versus the Shield, and then TLC, which is also going to have the finals of the Mixed Match Challenge, which means Mixed Match Challenge is going on for a very long time, is also rumored to be headlined by the Dogs of War versus the Shield. Why? It should be it should be Super Showdown, and maybe no, it won't be Crown Jewel, but maybe Starrcade, but that's it. I don't want to see it every single week, because then that means September, October, November, and December is all going to be these 6 guys, and everybody else is going to be forced out of the main event. Talk about pathetic. Like, it's okay if you want to have 6 guys interchange at once, like ever so often, but at the same time, the whole entire main event seed for Monday Night Raw is going to be these 6 guys, and that's it. What's going to happen with Kevin Owens? Bobby Lashley, who just got a manager with Leo Rush. I don't know. It just, ugh. And the main event was Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. And I just want to know, you knew, this is just like the night before, you knew people did not want to see, you knew people were going to start chanting this is bullshit or something when it came to the Universal Championship match at Hell in a Cell. And you had it with a fuck finish. And the reason you did that is because you knew people were going to be pissed. So why are you going to put us through that again? It makes no sense why you would do that. This makes no sense. Why are you just going to why are you going to put a match on in the main event of your Raw, which you know you're losing the ratings to, you're going to be losing the ratings war to the Monday Night Football. Why would you put on this match that you know nobody wants to see? Just to have it be an entire fuck finish with, oh, well, Baron Corbin got disqualified. Let's make it a no DQ match. Okay, so Braun Strowman, Dogs of War, the rest of the Shield come out, everybody brawls, and then Strowman wins with 1 spear. And that's it. WWE's main event scene is just, like, Monday Night Raw main event scene is trash. Absolute trash. The women's main event scene, which would be Ronda Rousey, is not any better. I mean, you had Ronda Rousey, who came into this Monday Night Raw and went to the back and was like, how do I do an open challenge? Do I have to talk to Baron Corbin? Do I have to call my best friend Stephanie? No, you just walk out and say, if anybody wants to fight me for this title, do it. She did that, and before that, she tried to put over Alexa Bliss. Why was she forced to go out there and try and put over Alexa Bliss, who can't wrestle worth anything? And the only reason she had any momentum in that match was because of Alicia Fox and Mickie James are with her. If they weren't there, it would have been the same thing you saw at SummerSlam, which it should have been. But she calls out somebody, and Natalya's music hit, and I'm like, okay. I do like the fact that they did what they did. They did tease a Ronda Rousey and Natalya match. Not that it's going to happen right now, but between now and WrestleMania, where it's going to be Flair and Rousey, I'm pretty sure, not Evolution, because they're going to do Nikki Bella for whatever reason, but maybe TLC or Starrcade, which we'll talk about Starrcade and what the thing's supposed to be. But probably TLC is where we will see Ronda Rousey versus Natalya for the Women's Championship. That would be great. Now, the reason that Natalya is not able to come out is because the Riot Squad beat her down and then dragged her out. And Ruby Riot's like, okay, well, I'm going to be taking your challenge. And I was like, okay, that's cool. We got a match that we haven't seen before. What did they do? They had the Riot Squad team up on her so the Bella Twins, of all people, could help her. And I think I said this on Monday too, the biggest gripe coming out of this entire thing is, well, a couple biggest gripes is, one, why in the fuck is Ronda Rousey needing the help of the Bella Twins? The two most irrelevant, terrible wrestlers on the roster should have no business in this. They were part of the Divas, the degradation. They were the reason the Divas division was so shitty. Especially Nikki, because she had John Cena's balls in her fucking hand the entire time. She could play with them, and John Cena would say, "What do you need, dear? What do I have to talk to Vince about so you can be women's champion? You can be Divas champion for as long as you want." Oh, you want to be in a WrestleMania match? Good. Okay, come on. Yeah, that's what we got there. So and another big gripe about this is you just had Brie Bella do an entire build from SummerSlam to Hell in a Cell with her husband, who is a babyface. So you're going to have this woman go out there and turn her back on Ronda Rousey and just immediately turn heel. Why? You have her and Mickey on their Total Divas. You have them on Total Badass. You have them as these people see their lives. Why are you going to have these two women go out there and turn on Ronda Rousey? Oh, so we can have Nikki Bella versus Ronda Rousey at Evolution. Huh? Oh, is that the main event? Yeah, that's gonna suck. I do know that the Evolution supposedly leaked card we saw last week has already been proven false. So everything we talked about last week with Evolution, if any of those matches outside of the UK title tournament, the Mae Young Classic match, and Becky Lynch versus Charlotte happen, then it's going to be a train wreck. But from what has been said, the NXT Women's Championship match at Evolution has debunked that entire thing. But now, it is going to definitely be a match we're seeing. I'm not going to go into it because people don't need to be spoiled. SmackDown Live continued the AJ Styles and Samoa Joe saga in a sort of way. We did have another excellent match between Anjali and AJ Styles. We also had, which AJ Styles won in, I think, one of the coolest ways ever. But we also had Charlotte. They're trying so hard to get in. We'll talk about that too. I think I have that on here. I hope I do. Charlotte. They're trying to build Charlotte up as the babyface in this entire story. They're still trying so hard to get Becky Lynch to be booed, and it's not happening. I don't get why they continue to push and push and push to get Becky Lynch to be booed. It's not going to happen. She even her coming out and be like, well, someday you weren't going to steal my spotlight, but tonight you can raise my hand. Was them trying to get her to be a heel, and it just doesn't work. Nobody buys Charlotte as a babyface. No. She stabbed Becky Lynch in the back. When Paige sat there and gave her the match to see if she would go to SummerSlam, she could have went to Paige and be like, nah, that's Becky's match. I'll face Carmella. If I win, I will face the winner at Super Showdown. So that's how that, or Hell in a Cell. So that's how that could have been, is like Becky versus Carmella, and then Charlotte could have said, well, I'll be number one contender if I beat Carmella tonight. No, she just took the match, and she stole Becky's moment. As I said before, and others have too, everybody, when I'm 28 years old, usually by the time you hit my age, you have been stabbed in the back by a friend, a colleague at work, family, somebody in your life has betrayed you one way or another. It might not be that bad of a betrayal, but somebody has betrayed you in your life. Everybody can get with that. Nobody is going to buy or side with the betrayer. You've been betrayed before? Why would you want to be happy? Why would you want to cheer on the betrayer? It just makes no sense why WWE even thinks that we're going to boo her. NXT. There wasn't much else on SmackDown Live, so we're just going to move on to NXT. NXT, we had I would love to call it match of the year, but yes, I knew the finish was going to be that way for the main event. But I don't whether it was an excellent match. It was a 5-star quality match. Had the finish actually been a conclusive finish, in my opinion, it could be the most spectacular match in the world. But if it has a shit finish like it did, even though it was warranted because it's setting up for War Games, and I have been pitching this for months. I swear I have. War Raiders, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne versus the Undisputed Era of Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Adam Cole. Now, with them building this as it is, I don't have any any proof of this, but it just feels like Triple H and his team knows that Bobby Fish will be healthy and ready to go for War Games, or they would be including Mustache Mountain in this, in my opinion. Why would you have just the War Raiders show up to battle Undisputed Era? Well, we still have months away, but Mustache Mountain has been nowhere to be found at all. It's always been the War Raiders with these guys. So, in my opinion, and I'm saying it again, and I said it, I even put a thing on Twitter yesterday, and someone actually responded saying, is Bobby Fish going to be healthy by then? Honestly, like I said, if Bobby Fish wasn't going to be healthy, I think we'd be getting a different kind of build towards War Games. It's only just been Ricochet, Pete Dunne, and the War Raiders. So, and my word, you thought Killian Dane was the MVP last year, which he was in War Games. If we had the War Raiders in War Games, along with a Ricochet, along with a Pete Dunne, along with Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Adam Cole, that is going to be a special match, especially if they do it by traditional rules, where one man starts, and after a 5-minute period, one man comes out every 2 minutes until all 8 men are in the ring, and then War Games begins. That will be special. Last year they did their own version of War Games, and it was good. It was great. It was awesome. This time, give us a traditional War Games in which we get 4v4. Not a problem. So, yes, that is what they're doing there. Of course, we did have a tag team match with Lacey Evans and Aaliyah versus Deonna Purrazzo and Dakota Kai with the heels winning after a woman's right to Dakota Kai, who had hardly been in the match. As I said on my review on Thursday morning, that it's a good thing, but it's also one of those things that I just don't like the solid punch. Now, William Regal's punch, the power of the punch, was different because he had a thing of brass knucks on his hand almost every time he did it. Just a straight up punch like Big Show does or Lacey Evans does just doesn't. I don't buy it. Like Big Show, I guess you could buy when he first started doing it because he is who he is. But Lacey Evans is just, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. But the fact that they had Dakota Kai get knocked out from the woman's right does help strengthen the move a little bit more. And of course, Jackson Ryker made his in-ring debut, also known as Gunner. Just a squash match. When it comes to squash matches, I'm not a big somebody who wants to sit there and pay attention to them. Usually when a squash match comes up, I usually turn my attention to something else just because it is a squash match. But it is great to see Gunner, aka Jackson Ryker, aka Gunner, working on these guys. The Forgotten Sons have actually been in the developmental, what I want to say, Jackson Ryker was Chad Laley on NXT's house show circuit for well over a year. The Forgotten Sons started about a year ago when they attacked with Lacey Evans. And that's the thing. Lacey Evans was associated with the Forgotten Sons on the house show circuit against Sanity because to counter Nikki Cross. What does that say about them now? They're going to have Lacey Evans added to them? Only time will tell. But, yeah, Jackson Ryker made his debut. Velveteen Dream, of course, went off on a stupid, goony reporter who asked him about the attack on Aleister Black while they were interviewing him. And he's like, hey, you come to talk to me and you're going to ask me about somebody else? Keep dreaming, and walked off. It was awesome. As we all know, next week is going to be the next set of NXT tapings as we get 1 step closer, 1 month closer to NXT TakeOver War Games. And I cannot wait for that. And we had the Mae Young Classic as well. I did not watch 205 Live, and WWE did a piss poor job of letting fans know who were going to SmackDown that 205 Live was being taped before SmackDown. So there were pictures going around that the arena was half empty. It's not the fans' fault if WWE is not going to say, hey, come an hour early because 205 Live is taping. We're going to have a Cedric Alexander and Drew Gulak match for the Cruiserweight Championship. But no, we're not going to advertise that because that's not something that sounds like a smart idea. That's WWE for you. They just screw up like that. Then we had our Mae Young Classic review yesterday. I did watch the Mae Young Classic. Everyone wants to know why we're getting reviews on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because my house lost its internet and I haven't been able to get it back. I do go to another location the next morning to watch SmackDown, NXT, and Mae Young Classic, and do stuff that way. I still record unscripted at my house where I usually do all this stuff because I don't have to have internet for that. I get my news from where I go to. I bring that home on my external hard drive, and then I plug it into my computer, and I have all my news and stuff ready to go. So anybody has an update on that, that is why things have been how they are. I might have to do that for TakeOver War Games, but that is still 2 months away, and we'll see what happens then. Definitely going to be doing that for Super Showdown, because Super Showdown is going to be going on at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I am not, even if I had internet here, I would probably not be watching that at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But that review on Super Showdown will be going up at noon that day. Just saying. That's a Saturday. If it's Saturday, then I'm going to definitely have to move Unscripted to Sunday that week. Let me see. Yeah, Saturday. So yeah, Unscripted October 7th will be a new one. Will be a Sunday for Unscripted in that week. We're way away from that though. Anyway, Mae Young Classic was definitely a good one. In my opinion, 3 of the 4 matches were great. Were good to great. Where the opening match, Caitlyn versus Kavita Devi, was a letdown to me. I think Caitlyn's opening return to WWE fell flat. I mean, she was going up against Kavita Devi, as they did let us know that she had her first match was in the Mae Young Classic last year. Her second match apparently was at WrestleMania for the Women's Battle Royal, where Becky Lynch yelled at her for like, "Hey, orange, that's my color. You can't wear orange." Like, it's just a color, Becky. Calm down. Anyway, so my question is, how many other matches between WrestleMania and this Mae Young Classic has Kavita Devi had? And it sucks for her because, one, people may not like her, and she just doesn't really do anything for me, but she does come from a country, India, where people frown on what she does. Like, the Greatest Royal Rumble in coming Crown Jewel, the women of WWE will not be allowed to travel to work there. So, for her to be able to come to the States from India and actually be able to perform as a wrestler is a big deal. Yes, she was trained by the great Khali. I'm sorry for your loss, miss. I'm sorry for that. But it's a big deal for someone like her to have the opportunity to be in WWE from a country where, of course, they frown on women doing almost anything outside of being, home workers, like at home and everything. Allison Kay versus Mia Yim was definitely a really great match, in my opinion. The Zara Lee and Karen Q, I looked at this match and I'm like, oh, this match is going to be a throwaway. I really don't care for either of these two. I have no idea who either of them are. They blew me away, and it was an excellent match. And Toni Storm versus Jinny was definitely a great match. I've also read, I've heard somewhere that we will see another match between these two out on the UK tapings. I don't know when, I don't know where. I hope it comes to the WWE Network soon, because I want to see another Toni Storm and Jinny match for sure. So yeah, Mae Young Classic is definitely an improvement from over last year. We're only in three episodes into the first round. We still have another week to go, where we will have Io Shirai and there's 3 Japanese women. There's also the other Japanese lady. I can't think of off the top of my head what her name is, but they will be in the final episode. But I'm looking forward to Io Shirai and everyone else who is left. There were 4 matches left, 8 superstars who will join the others who have already joined. We will find out this coming Wednesday, and of course I'll have a review on Friday. So, let's start off with everything that comes out of Hell in a Cell, and that is what is up with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar made his surprise return to WWE during the main event of last Sunday's WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view in San Antonio, Texas. Dave Meltzer noted on the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio that Lesnar is scheduled to wrestle at the upcoming WWE show in Saudi Arabia on Friday, November 2nd. We did have that confirmation the very next night. Lesnar destroyed Strowman and Universal Champion Roman Reigns. I wouldn't really say destroy them. What he did to Roman Reigns while he was handcuffed before WrestleMania, that's destroying somebody. He hit them with a table and hit them with an F5. That's really not destroying them. Which was on in the match, ending in a draw. The pay-per-view went off the air with Strowman and Reigns laid out in the ring. Meltzer noted that the non-finish was always the plan for the match, and the deal with Legend was something that has been in the works for a little while, and it was not put together at the last minutes. I bet you, before his match with Roman Reigns, this entire plan to have Brock Lesnar come back at Hell in a Cell was already was a done deal. Before Brock Lesnar's music even hit, probably before Brock Lesnar even got in the building, this was the plan. So for about a month, they've had this plan out. And speaking of Brock, how much is he making for his next match? Brock Lesnar's WWE turn at Hell in a Cell was done to set up his next match for the company to place in the next big event in Saudi Arabia. According to Dave Meltzer, it's believed that Lesnar will earn well into the 7 figures for the match in Saudi Arabia. Well, it's that oil money, so, WWE has the ability to pay that kind of thing. It is believed the Greatest Royal Rumble event in late April generated around $45 million for WWE, which much more than what they get for WrestleMania events. This allows them to pay top talent like Lesnar and The Undertaker to work these events in Saudi Arabia. The event in November would be the second event under WWE's 10-year partnership with the United Kingdom. Lesnar's camp was reportedly expected McMahon to make a huge offer for Crown Jewel and WrestleMania 35 during SummerSlam week. Lesnar has not signed a new UFC contract, which would allow UFC to block any WWE appearances. However, UFC and WWE appear to be on good working terms these days, and it's likely that UFC would not have stopped Lesnar from making a big payday while WWE payday while he was under contract to them. Correct me if I'm wrong. When Dana White was on the UFC show a couple months ago, and he was asked, is Brock Lesnar coming back? And he said, yeah, Brock is coming back. Did he not say in that interview that Brock Lesnar has still been under UFC contract? He still has a contract with UFC. So was Dana White lying or what? That makes no sense to me. I remember him saying, yeah, Brock is coming back. And someone asked him about a contract for Brock, and I vividly remember Dana White saying Brock Lesnar still is contracted to UFC, but because of his quote-unquote retirement, because, yes, it would be that, if that's the case, then it would also be like if the NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL, one of those things. If a player retires and they still have, say, 2-3 years left on their contract, if they come out of retirement, they have to go and play for the team that they were contracted for. So that's why it made it seem like that's exactly what they meant. And it's likely UFC would not have any of this. It's not clear when the WWE offer was made and agreed on, but it was also several weeks back. There was also no word yet on the details of the deal, but Lesnar is looking at signing short-term contracts with feeling that the more he's free, the more money he can make by playing both sides, UFC and WWE, and get the best deal possible. Lesnar is still expected to face UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier in early 2018. While he is serious about returning to the octagon as he's been drug tested by USADA, Meltzer noted that he has not yet signed a contract with the UFC. Anybody ever need to go into negotiations for some kind of contract, please go contact Brock Lesnar, because this guy knows how to make a deal, broker a deal for the most money out there, because this dude comes in and is going to be close to 7 figures for his match in Saudi Arabia, where he will most likely do the job, because if you have, like I said, if you have Braun Strowman do the job, then what's the point of having Braun Strowman what's going to happen to Braun Strowman? And it would just end the entire feud with Braun Strowman. Having Braun Strowman, and you could even have, Brock Lesnar hit Braun Strowman with an F5, get up, eat a spear, 1, 2, 3. That's how that match should end. Brock Lesnar hits the F5, looks to get the pin, but ends up eating a spear right afterwards, and that's that. That's how I see that ending. WWE confiscates an all-in and anti-Flair sign at Hell in a Cell. Speaking of Hell in a Cell, security confiscated at least 2 fan signs at Sunday's Hell in a Cell in pay-per-view from the AT&T Center in San Antonio. Twitter user Adam4L revealed that security took his sign related to the big all-in event because it said, "I am only here because all-in sold out." Really, WWE, you're that pathetic? Adam wrote the following on Twitter: "Had the hotel and rental car booked, but all in 2018 sold out so quick, so I had to settle with Hell in a Cell, and they didn't let me in with my sign. LOL." Security also confiscated the sign made by Twitter user Kimber Lastkick, definitely a Becky Lynch fan, a fan on the new SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch. The sign was knocked on at former champion Charlotte Flair and read like this: "Boo the woo." I can understand WWE confiscating that because the woo is one of their big things, so like when Ric Flair and stuff. But WWE, you come out there and say we're the voice. Obviously, this is them trying to make sure that Becky Lynch does not they want Becky Lynch to be the heel. They want people to cheer Charlotte Flair. They're treating Charlotte Flair like Roman Reigns. Speaking of these two, what is the news on Flair and Lynch from Hell in a Cell? As noted, Becky Lynch became a 2-time Women's Champion by defeating Charlotte Flair at last Sunday's pay-per-view. It's no secret that Becky's popularity has been on the rise since turning on Flair at SummerSlam. Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that the idea of last Sunday's match was to slowly turn Flair babyface. Really? Are you serious? It's not gonna work. That's like trying to slowly turn Roman Reigns into a fucking guy that people believe in. It's not gonna work. Despite Becky pinning Flair in the middle of the ring clean, the idea was to end the match with Flair as a babyface after Becky screwed her to win the title. Apparently, Becky's big, and this is funny. I'll give you a second to laugh in a second. Apparently, Becky's big heel move was the post-match handshake blow-off. I'll give you a few seconds to laugh about that. Are you serious? Are you serious? A post-match handshake where, Shirley goes for the handshake and Becky just blows her off. Are you kidding me? You stabbed me in the back and you took my opportunity at SummerSlam. Now you want to shake my hand because I'm the better woman? Please. People would have booed Becky. If Becky would have shook Charlotte's hand, people would have booed her. Why didn't you have her shake her hand? Because that would have been, everybody would have booed. But you didn't do that. You had Becky blow her off, and that was that. And then you had the commentators sit there and try and be like, "Oh, Becky's being disrespectful." SummerSlam, that is all. There was supposed to be a few significant heel moves by Becky during the match, but both of them worked most of the match as a babyface. WWE officials knew going into the match that Becky would be cheered. They don't want to turn Charlotte heel because of Evolution. They don't want Charlotte going into Evolution as a heel because she is the face of the women's division on SmackDown Live, and they want in the women's division overall. Her and Ronda Rousey are your faces of the women's division, and they want her to be a baby face so she can go out and be a promotional person for them for Evolution after Super Showdown, because as soon as Super Showdown's over, we are fast-tracking everything. The men are going to have to take a back seat, plain and simple, for the most part. The men are going to have to take a back seat, for the most part, and you got to be working on the women. Excuse me, throat's a little dry from talking. But WWE officials definitely are screwing. They're trying so hard to get Becky to be booed, and it's not working. They had Becky call Charlotte a bitch on Tuesday, and she beat down Charlotte, and the crowd is cheering. I can guarantee you the entire time this segments are going on, these matches are going on where Becky is getting cheered, Vince McMahon is someone in the back is tearing their hair out because nothing they do is working. You're trying to make Roman Reigns be a sympathetic babyface. You're trying to make Becky Lynch a nasty heel. It's not working. Becky Lynch is a Stone Cold Daniel Bryan-esque character. That's what Daniel Bryan was, the Stone Cold of the 2014. Then Becky Lynch is taking inspiration from both of those guys. You're getting opportunities that I have are getting taken away from me. I'm going to fight back, and I don't give a fuck what happens. That's what's happening with Becky Lynch, and it's just a damn shame that WWE just can't see what they're doing. Like I said, what they should have did, if they wanted the heel thing to happen, you could have had Becky Lynch shake Charlotte's hand. As soon as Becky Lynch shakes Charlotte's hand, I guarantee you everybody's booing. Shake hand, hug, there you go. That would have got everybody in the arena pissed off. But we have Super Showdown coming up, and these two are going to have a rematch there. I'm hoping and praying we do not see a title change already. But the only reason I would say we should see a title change is if that's the night that Charlotte turns heel. Charlotte has to turn heel. You can't even expect Becky Lynch to win, to be screwed out, to be able to turn heel. Becky Lynch, the last time Becky Lynch was an actual heel was in NXT, when, of course, who did she turn on? Bayley. Because in NXT, Bayley was turned on by everybody. Charlotte turned on her. Becky Lynch turned on her. Sasha Banks turned on her at one time. Everybody turned on Bayley. That was like a running gag, a running thing in NXT, is that Bayley was gullible because she trusted everybody, and everybody turned on her. Time will tell what happens, but WWE continues to keep making mistakes when it comes to this feud. And it's backfiring on them every step of the way. Moving on, here we have WWE bringing back Starrcade in November. They had a video out where I guess they said this is for the first time ever you're going to see Starrcade. You forgot about Starrcade last year, didn't you? WWE is bringing back Starrcade in the live event this year, but it will not take place in Carolina. This is the 2017 Starrcade event that took place in Greensboro, North Carolina, but the 2018 edition will take place on Friday, November 24th from the U.S. Bank Arena in Cincinnati, Ohio. So if I could actually get tickets and a way to go, I could be at Starrcade. That's awesome. It's actually in my home state. No word yet as the event will air on WWE Network, but the 2000 event did not air. Tickets to Starrcade 2008 go on sale this Friday, September 21st, which was yesterday. Ticket prices are $28, $38, $58, $78, $113, and $303, probably for a front seat. The following matches have been advertised for Starrcade. Steel cage match, AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for the WWE Championship, which, if I'm a guy, that's why I want Samoa Joe to win the championship, especially if it's on the network. Forget everything else. Starrcade would be a heck of a place for somebody like Samoa Joe to win the WWE Championship. But I know WWE, if Joe does not win the championship at Super Showdown, Crown Jewel, or Starrcade, he's not winning the championship. Steel cage match for the SmackDown Women's title, Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. Can I ask, does Charlotte have to be in a steel cage match on both Starrcades? Because it was her and Natalya last year in a steel cage for the Women's Championship, and now this year it's Flair versus Lynch. United States title match, Rusev versus Shinsuke Nakamura. SmackDown Tag Team title match, The Bar versus The New Day. Cincinnati Street Fight. This is like the only Raw. It's a SmackDown show outside of the main event, because this, I guess, is going to be the main event. The Shield versus the Dogs of War. So you're going to have Super Showdown, you're going to have Starrcade, and you're going to have TLC. Why? Good grief. Why? And it's going to be shitty as fuck if that's the main event. The Cincinnati Street Fight should actually open Starrcade, in my opinion. The WWE Championship should close the show. Elias performs concert with the WWE Hall of Famer Ric Flair appearing. I don't even want to know. Announced appearances by Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Alexa Bliss, and others. So I'm hoping it'll be on the WWE Network. I hope it gets some kind of cool little stage or something. It says Starrcade, give us a throwback stage, which just like the word Starrcade cut out in steel in steel across the top, and it's just that and curtain, just a classic old looking Starrcade type thing, like WWE Starrcade, and it's just a curtain in front. That's all you need. So Starrcade, if you're in Cincinnati, Ohio, you want to get there, tickets went on sale yesterday, and it is going to be on November 24th. I would love to go. I would actually love to go, just because I've been watching WWE since, I've been watching wrestling since I was 7 years old, and I've never been to a wrestling event. Just how things work out, maybe someday. HBK's comeback match confirmed. I have some thoughts on this. It is confirmed that Shawn Michaels will be coming out of retirement to team with Triple H against The Undertaker and Kane at the WWE Crown Jewel event on November 2nd. WWE has not confirmed this yet, for the simple fact is they want to get through Super Showdown before anything else happens. According to Meltzer in the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Newsletter, Taker is scheduled to face Triple H at the Super Showdown event in Australia on October 6th, with Michaels in Triple H's corner, while Kane will be in Taker's corner. That will almost certainly set up a match at Crown Jewel. Kane is the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, and WWE will be donating $100,000 to the Knoxville Public Safety Foundation for his services in an upcoming event. WWE will be sent the check to the foundation at the next WWE Live event in Knoxville, which is expected to be in January. Up until this point, Michaels has turned down every request to return to the ring. It was reported at the Observer that WWE had also tried to get Michaels to wrestle at the Saudi Arabia event this past April. It was noted that Saudi Arabia shows are far more lucrative than WrestleMania. Data from WWE's Q2 earning report earlier this year suggests that WWE has taken in between $40 and $50 million this year with the Saudi deal, although it is not known if that was the April show alone or if that includes Crown Jewel. I would say the April show because Crown Jewel just got announced this past Monday. Yeah, so, one second. I don't want to see this. So basically you're getting DX versus the Brothers of Destruction. You're getting three guys, I don't know if Triple H is in his 50s yet, but 4 guys in their 50s having a match when all 4 of them should be retired. Kane is the mayor of Knox County. He needs to work on being the mayor. You will not need to be a wrestler right now. Just go away and stay in Knox County, please. Taker should have retired when the streak was broken. Triple H should have retired at the end of an era match. These 4 guys need to stop. I do not want to see Kane and The Undertaker versus Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Kane couldn't hardly even wrestle this year. Like, he looked so awful at the Royal Rumble. He looked so awful, even though he had a Rocky boot on. He looked so out of it when he and Daniel Bryan took on the Bludgeon Brothers for Extreme Rules. I don't want to see another match between any of these guys. Some people would say, "Oh, that is awesome." I don't think so. I think it's a damn shame that they're going to do this. Shawn Michaels has been denying for years that he doesn't want to come back. He is being respectful to The Undertaker. And then I don't care how much money he's being paid. That's what you're going to give me is Shawn Michaels coming back. What for? For a little bit of extra money? Come on, Shawn. Does your pride not matter anymore? Does your respect for The Undertaker not matter anymore? Does your respect for the business not matter anymore? Give me a break. Stay retired. I don't want to see it, and anybody with a fucking brain in this world should not want to see Shawn Michaels come out of retirement. And people are like, "Oh, well, Shawn Michaels could come back and have a match with like anybody and make him look good." No fucking really. That's talent. You don't lose that even when you're fucking 50 years old. But the guy is old. His body is beaten. His body went through hell. He had back injury that almost retired him in 1999. He does not need to come back. I don't want to see the match. I think the match is probably going to be a damn train wreck. Triple H has looked like he's like past his prime as well, which he is. His match with John Cena at the Greatest Royal Rumble was boring as fuck. His match at WrestleMania, the only reason that match was anything worth talking about was the fact that Ronda Rousey made her debut and killed it. We do not need to see this match. I do not want to see this match. Shawn Michaels and Triple H need to focus on NXT. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, if Shawn Michaels is helping him, need to focus on 205 Live and how to improve 205 Live. I don't care about this match. Taker came out when I watched Monday Night Raw, this past Monday, and 6 years ago, when the gong hits, I would get chills. I would be like, "Oh God, this entrance is awesome." I don't get that anymore. The Undertaker is a caricature of himself. He is just a has-been. He does not need to wrestle. Yeah, oh, he looked good against John Cena at WrestleMania. It was a 2-minute. It was a minute and a half match. Ric Flair could go out there and wrestle a minute and a half match and look good. Shawn Michaels could go out there, wrestle a minute and a half match and look good. If you hit all your big spots in that middle time, you're going to look good. Taker cannot go much more. It's got to end. WrestleMania 35, if he's going to be there, needs to be it. You fucking destroyed, and it pisses me off still that WrestleMania 33, you had the Undertaker lose to Roman, take his gloves, jacket, and hat, and place him in the ring, and leave. And then you bring him back. And you bring him back. And you bring him back. Vince. Enough of the nostalgia. Nostalgia, like for video games. I'm playing Super Mario Odyssey, which I didn't get to play last year because of various reasons. I'm getting to play Super Mario Odyssey like the last few days. And every time you go into one of those pixelated pipes and you get to go into like classic Mario mode, I'm like, oh, that is awesome. That's a little cool thing. I'm okay with video game nostalgia because it is what it is. It doesn't get shoved down your throat every single fucking year after year after year. WWE keeps taking your hand into the cookie jar of nostalgia and pulling out treats for the WWE Universe. When is the WWE Universe fans going to realize that those cookies are stale and old and need to go? WWE is just all on this entire, oh, we gotta have nostalgia this, nostalgia that. With all this nostalgia that WWE has going, they are hurting and sacrificing everybody. You had Triple H the night after SummerSlam. You had Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker the next week. This past week last week you had Triple H and Mick Foley on for various different reasons, and then you had the Undertaker this week. Every time those guys were on the channel, people paid attention. People actually cared what those guys said. Do you think most people care what's going on with Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman? Do you think people really care about Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley? Yes, when Lio Rush talks, you want to listen. Do you think people are really caring about Elias as much as they used to? Like with Elias should have won the Intercontinental title back at Money in the Bank, and Seth Rollins cheated to win. And they never went anywhere with it. They kind of just swept it under the rug because Seth Rollins faced Dolph Ziggler the next night and lost the title. What the hell? Instead of Elias got cheated, let's give him another match at the next pay-per-view. Let's have Seth Rollins lose it the next night and say, fuck Elias, he's off doing nothing now. Elias is just becoming another one of those characters that is starting to slowly die. WWE has done a piss poor job with everybody who comes up from NXT. They don't book him well at all. Braun Strowman, for well over a year, biggest babyface on Monday Night Raw outside of Seth Rollins. What do? Turn him heel. An entire year. Merchandise, saying catchphrases and everything. An entire year. Again, this guy naturally getting over. Let's turn him heel. Let's kill everything that we worked on with Braun Strowman because Roman Reigns is not getting cheered enough. Fuck you, Vince. Seriously, enough of it. You take something that is naturally getting over. Braun Strowman was feeling like one of those guys that could do anything as a babyface and was going to be over. Turn him heel. You want to know something? Go back and watch Monday Night Raw. Go back and watch Monday Night Raw. Braun Strowman, after Baron Corbin makes the triple threat match at Crown Jewel, he opens his mouth and says, I think this sucks. I think you suck. I think you suck. I think this whole situation sucks. And everything sucks, especially everyone here. And the entire time, from the time he opened his mouth and the time he dropped that mic, he was being cheered. Vince, how'd that heel turn go? Are you proud of yourself for sacrificing everything that happened with Braun Strowman for Roman Reigns? Again, fuck you, you senile, stupid-ass motherfucker. You are stupid as fuck. You don't know what. You're so fucking out of touch that I can't even make an analogy for how fucking out of touch you are, you stupid piece of shit. Get your shit together. Take your stuff. Go work on the fucking XFL, which, by the way, you haven't named any cities. You haven't named any teams yet. You are doing a 2-year plan. You should have cities and teams named before the end of this year, and next year you build up your rosters. And not, it's going to be the same old shit from last time. You need to focus on that. Give the reins to Triple H. Do not give the keys to Stephanie McMahon, because we know what she's done with creative over the last decade and a half. When she became creative, in charge of creative, everything just started to fall apart, and it's still falling apart. So again, Vince, fuck you stupid senile bastard. I don't want to see Michaels in a ring. Go to NXT, where you've been going, and I can understand why Michaels is probably getting that itch. He's around Johnny Gargano. He's around the Velveteen Dream, Tommaso Ciampa. He's all around these guys in the wrestling business. Shawn Michaels actually, I think, came out in an interview a couple years ago and was like, I don't want to go back because what they do on the main roster is not what I was doing. That's not even wrestling to me anymore. But he works in NXT, where fans are, the fans are given great wrestling. Fans are given great action, great storylines, great storytelling. I wish I had the clip from Adam Paciotti's interview with Johnny Gargano where he asked him point blank, what do you think is key for storytelling in wrestling? And Johnny Gargano said it has to be real. People have to be able to relate to it. People have to, the things with him and Tommaso Ciampa are real because, yes, they are real friends. You can tell with their matches that they are real friends. Everything that they talked about when they moved to Florida together. When Candice and him got married, they moved down here. Tommaso Ciampa lived with them for a while. Tommaso Ciampa was in his wedding. They even showed videos of him in Johnny Gargano's wedding. So it was more real to the fans. You don't get that shit on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. Outside of Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, almost nothing feels real. One of the biggest reasons why Samoa Joe and AJ Styles is a more believable story than most of the stuff on SmackDown and Raw is because these two have been traveling for years, for a decade and a half, at least 15 years, in the entire wrestling community, inside wrestling. They were in Ring of Honor. They were in Impact Wrestling. These guys have been up and down the roads of the world together. These guys know each other better than everybody. Their kids know each other. Their kids know their kids. It's just, it was able to make this real with the fact that Samoa Joe went personal. Personal, when two guys know each other as much as Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, or Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, or back in the early 2000s, Triple H and Shawn Michaels. When they feuded, it was good. It was better than most storylines because it was real. Storytelling needs to be more real on the main roster. You don't get that up there. Aleister Black has been attacked. He's supposed to be coming back very, very soon. I don't know if it's going to be this set of tapings or the next set, but he comes back soon, and that's going to be, and I still think it's Cassius Ohno, but that's going to be, and hopefully it is Cassius Ohno or somebody big, because that is going to make somebody's career in NXT. Unfortunately, if we saw the same exact storyline that we see in NXT with not Tommaso Ciampa, but Aleister Black, WWE would have just been like, oh, it's Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman attacked this person. Why? Because he can. And it would have been dead. We wouldn't even have anything intriguing. Look what happened with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, 3 weeks ago, quit Monday Night Raw. The night after SummerSlam, quit Monday Night Raw. 1 week later, we had intrigue. Kevin Owens quit. Is he coming to SmackDown? Is he going back to NXT? Will he show up at Evolve? Will he show up at ICW? Will he show up at Progress? Nope, he'll be back next week attacking Bobby Lashley. Why? Oh, that's right. Because Bobby Lashley and John Cena are going up against Elias, and Bobby Lashley and John Cena are going up against Elias and Kevin Owens at Super Showdown. Oh, and Bobby Lashley is blamed for Sami Zayn's injuries, even though Bobby Lashley probably had nothing to do with either of them. Yeah, so the entire intrigue lasted 1 week. That's just as bad as when John Cena got quote-unquote fired from WWE when he lost to, I think it was Wade Barrett of the Nexus, when Curtis Axel, who was Michael McGillicuddy at the time, joined Michael McGillicuddy, and I think it was somebody, and David Otunga, or one of the, no, not David, and someone else joined the Nexus. He got fired, and very next week he's in hotel rooms and stuff beating up the Nexus. He's beating up everybody in the Nexus until Wade Barrett gives him his job back. WWE, they did it to me once, and they did it to me again, but the next time, unless it's an NXT, well, there will be intrigue, because there will be intrigue. I am not going to buy WWE if someone quits, unless it's put out there that they quit, or they quote-unquote get fired, unless they actually get fired. Because WWE throws intrigue out there, and what do? 1 week later, that person's back. It's just absolutely pathetic. And stuff like that makes us not care about a Kevin Owens anymore, or Bobby Lashley, or Elias, or anybody. They sacrifice everybody on the main roster because they want Roman Reigns to be above everybody else. And guess what? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But then you have Shawn Michaels and Triple H, Kane, and The Undertaker. We had to suffer through last year Kane for like 3 weeks in a row in the main event of Monday Night Raw. Do you really think I want to see him in another match? Do you really think I want to see him at Crown Jewel? Do you really think I want to see him at Super Showdown? No. No, I do not. This entire thing for Crown Jewel, Shawn Michaels has not wrestled a match since losing his title match to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. And in my opinion, I wish he would stay that way. I don't want to see Shawn Michaels in a match. I don't want to see this tag team match. I said this to my dad earlier when I told him that's the match was going to happen. He's like, well, that's freaking awesome, because basically it's DX versus the Brothers of Destruction. Yeah, that would have been awesome 10 years ago. 15 years ago. It is 2018. I don't give a fuck what the Prince of Saudi Arabia wants. I don't give a fuck what the Saudi Arabian government wants. I don't want to see Shawn Michaels take everything that he has said over the last 8 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever, and throw it away for money. He said on Raw 3 weeks ago, that he has had millions and millions of dollars thrown away because he kept on turning down matches for the return matches. And you're going to throw everything that you said on Monday Night Raw 3 weeks ago away for a little bit extra money from Saudi Arabia. Shawn, you really disappoint me on this one. You really do. Stay retired. You made that promise. If you come back out of retirement, you're just like everybody else. Everything you said on Monday Night Raw 3 weeks ago becomes an absolute lie. You did it because you respected the fans. You did it because you respected the business. You did it because you respected The Undertaker. You come out of retirement for a shitty tag team match with 4 50-year-old guys. You throw everything that you said away. And it's a damn shame that you're going to do that. It's a damn shame. News on Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair for WrestleMania. There's going to be a whole... And news on the 4 Horsewomen versus 4 Horsewomen match at Survivor Series as well. There continues to be praise for Jessamine Duke coming out of NXT, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer Radio. WWE looks to be fast-tracking Duke and Marina Shafir, largely in part due to their connection with Shayna Baszler and Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey, but also because of their progress. It was reported earlier this summer that WWE has plans for a Horsewoman versus Horsewoman match at November 18th Survivor Series pay-per-view in Los Angeles, but there are no word on if they still plan on doing that match. It would make no sense for Charlotte Flair and SmackDown Live Becky Lynch to team up right now, but stranger things have happened, and they could always do another combination of female superstars to battle with the MMA Horsewomen. No. If you're going to put Ronda Rousey, Jessamine Duke, Marina Shafir, and Shayna Baszler against any 4 women, it's going to be Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just not going to happen. Meltzer also noted that a major pay-per-view match in November could be too soon for Duke and Shafir. Word is that Duke is way ahead of where she should be, and Shafir is not far behind her. Rousey adapted quickly, and Baszler could likely pull off a high-profile match like Survivor Series match, but it could be asking a lot for Duke and Shafir early in their careers. Hasn't stopped them before. I mean, it's a 4-on-4 match, so Duke and Shafir would be more protected than it would be if you had them in a tag team match where it was Duke and Shafir versus two of the Four Horsewomen of WWE. With the progress that they're having, though, we still have a October, like the rest of September, all of October, and November. Ronda Rousey went into WrestleMania with just very little training, pretty much. I think Shafir and Duke have had probably more training since they joined NXT, along with Shayna Baszler, than Ronda Rousey has. Ronda Rousey, I'm not trying to compare them to and kind of ring technique stuff, but Ronda Rousey jumped into the WWE main roster like AJ Styles did. Even though AJ Styles, of course, has been wrestling for 10, 12, 13 years, he came headfirst into the main roster of WWE. Not too many people get to do that. So Ronda Rousey did the same thing. So Ronda Rousey, I can see Duke and Shafir, if they're ahead of where they are, I think they would be just fine. If you want to do a main event match for Survivor Series, then I don't see them doing it this year. It would have to be next year. But if it's just like opening match or a match on the card, they would be just fine. I mean, you would have to have the biggest thing is you would have to have them you would have to have them in front of a takeover crowd. So if you wanted Duke and Shafir to make their NXT TV debuts, it would have to be the night before Survivor Series, where they do the aftermath show, in which they would have those two, and Shayna Baszler or whoever versus whomever, to give them that feel and to see how they would do in front of a takeover crowd, even though the takeover show hasn't started yet. Will we see this match this year? Probably not at Survivor Series if they're a little too early on. Next year I think is a little too late, but I don't know. I don't know I know WWE's been wanting to do this match since the Four Horsewomen of WWE have really formed. Since then, and the fact that they wanted to get the other, the Duke, Shafir, Baszler, and Rousey on their payroll, WWE's been wanting to do this ever since for years. And come hell or high water, this match will happen between now and next Survivor Series. Most likely next Survivor Series. As long as Shayna Baszler is not brought up and killed, but with the fact that she is a friend of not Charlotte, but Ronda Rousey. She is one of the Four Horsewomen. I'm pretty sure she is going to probably have more success on the main roster than majority of the women who come up from NXT. Let me see here. Regarding the rumored Flair versus Rousey match at WrestleMania 35, the latest is that match has not as locked in for WrestleMania as everyone thinks, but is definitely being talked about. That match is happening. They brought Ronda Rousey in to give Charlotte Flair another notch on her belt. That match is happening. Just like the Four Horsewomen versus the Four Horsewomen, that match is happening. Now, I would actually want to see Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey happen before the match of the Four Horsewomen versus the Four Horsewomen, because if the Four Horsewomen versus Horsewomen match happens before Rousey and Flair, you're not gonna have it would have to be a Survivor Series elimination match. Rousey and or Flair would have to be eliminated before they ever met up, because you don't want them to have any ring interaction until WrestleMania. So having the Four Horsewomen match next Survivor Series after the WrestleMania match makes it a little bit more better, because then you're not trying to do everything you can to keep Rousey and Charlotte Flair separated, because you do want their first interaction between each other happening at WrestleMania. So this year of Survivor Series, I just don't see it happening. It makes absolutely no sense for them to do it this year. They can easily make it, especially if Becky Lynch is champion going into Evolution. It's real easy to have Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, on like the what I want to say, the differences put to the side. It's real simple. During the match of Evolution, the four horsewomen besides Ronda Rousey come out and beat them down. That's all you had to do. Becky Lynch and Bayley come in. They try to save. Ronda Rousey comes out and all four women brawl. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. And then that would set up Survivor Series. It's not that hard. People make it sound like, I don't know. Nah, you just have Duke Shafir Baszler, who's going to be on that show, of course, come out and attack the four horsewomen, the Charlotte and Flair and Becky Lynch, and then Bayley and Sasha Banks come down to try and make the save, and then Ronda Rousey comes down. All four women separate. All four women brawl. Charlotte and Ronda Rousey do not brawl. It would be Baszler and Charlotte, Becky and Rousey, and the other two would go with the other two. There you go. Boom, done. I just booked you how you would set up the horsewoman versus horsewoman match at Survivor Series from Evolution. Somebody should pay me. Update on Rey Mysterio's WWE return. It has been confirmed. It has been reported that Rey Mysterio has signed a new deal to return to WWE. The deal is for 2 years, according to PW Insider. But Mysterio had been trying to negotiate an 18-month contract, but WWE wanted a 2-year deal, and they finally settled on that. Mysterio was able to work in a clause that allowed him to give notice at 18-month mark if he wanted to leave. No word yet on when the former World Heavyweight Champion will be returning to WWE TV, but is preparing for a return as WWE comes up with creative plans for him. One of the big rumors coming out for this is that Nakamura has been going around saying he has no competition. He has no competition. He's not going to wrestle without competition. The story going around is that Rey Mysterio is going to come back and he's going to challenge Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship, either at Super Showdown or SmackDown 1000. I forgot about that one. It is coming up next month too. So let me know in the comment section below. So Rey Mysterio is coming back. Who would you want to see Rey Mysterio face at anything, Super Showdown or SmackDown 1000? Who would you want to see Rey Mysterio feud with? I would love to see Rey Mysterio versus AJ Styles. Rey Mysterio versus Andrade Cien Almas. Rey Mysterio versus Daniel Bryan. Rey Mysterio versus a heel Randy Orton. Those guys have history. There you go. Speaking of SmackDown, stipulation for the WWE Championship match has been set for Super Showdown. This makes me think that Samoa Joe could possibly walk out the WWE Champion. As you know, when we got to SummerSlam and Hell in a Cell, it doesn't make any sense, like the way they've done this, but like SummerSlam, AJ Styles lost his match by disqualification after Samoa Joe taunted his family one too many times. We got to Hell in a Cell, and AJ Styles did pin Samoa Joe in the same way Kairi Sane pinned Shayna Baszler, but in a different camera angle. AJ Styles was tapping out before the count of 3. So Samoa Joe and AJ Styles will have a no count out, no disqualification. They're just going to have a no DQ match. Why the hell would you put it that way? No count out, no disqualification match. If it's a no disqualification stipulation, no count outs gets applied. Who the fuck came up with this? And there must be a winner. That confuses me because there was a winner. I saw the video after AJ Styles technically beat Samoa Joe where he talked to Paige, and Paige was like, at Super Showdown there must be a winner. I was like, the referees single stands or call stands, AJ Styles won by pinfall. Why would you put a stipulation of there must be a winner? This is just a no DQ match, street fight, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's just a hardcore no DQ, whatever. It must be a winner. I don't know who thought that stipulation up. Was it Lynch? We should do a no counter, no DQ match. Done? That's a brilliant idea. I don't know what this company has at the time. First you have a street fight, then you have a no DQ match, a Falls Count Anywhere match, a no holds barred match. What the hell is the difference between 3 of those 4 matches? Just the name. just the name. Below is the updated card. We have the no countouts, no DQ match. There must be a winner. AJ Styles vs. Samoa Joe. SmackDown Women's title. Flair vs. Becky Lynch. The Cruiserweight Championship match is Buddy Murphy versus Cedric Alexander. I honestly think Cedric Alexander is going to win that. We will have a preview and predictions on Friday of that week, which I believe is going to be... It is October, the day before, Friday, it's October 5th, we will have a preview predictions for the entire Super Showdown. Hopefully, unlike the Greatest Royal Rumble, this actually has some effort behind it, and it's just not a house show thrown on the WWE Network. If you're going to give me a house show on the network, call it a house show. Do not give it a fucking tagline like Super Showdown, Crown Jewel, or Greatest Royal Rumble. Please. The reason Buddy Murphy, pretty much, and it's real obvious, the reason Buddy Murphy's getting the Cruiserweight Championship match at Super Showdown is because Buddy Murphy is Australian. He is from Australia, so it would be a hell of a moment if Buddy Murphy won the Cruiserweight Championship in Australia on his home turf. Will it happen? We'll talk about that on the 5th. SmackDown Tag Team Title match, New Day versus The Bar. Number one contenders match for the future WWE Championship has not been said where that match will take place. The Miz versus Daniel Bryan. It would not surprise me if this number one contenders match ends up being at SmackDown 1000. Why not? Triple H with Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels versus Kane with the Undertaker versus Kane. The Undertaker with Kane. My bad. John Cena and Bobby Lashley versus Elias and Kevin Owens. I don't know why. The Shield versus the Dogs of War, the Bella Twins and Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey versus the Riot Squad, Asuka and Naomi versus Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. The only reason this match is happening is because Peyton Royce and Billie Kay were from Australia. I'm just going to say this, and I don't know why WWE hasn't done this. They were having trouble selling tickets to this thing. It was supposed to be 100,000, it dropped to 80, and it's at 60,000. Why is Tony Storm not on this? Why is Tony Storm? You have done special, you've had Shinsuke Nakamura or Asuka go to the other brand for a house show for when Asuka was on Raw, SmackDown was in Japan. You would have Asuka, Hideo Itami, or Shinsuke Nakamura go with them, and the other way. If Raw was on, you would have SmackDown. It's just why is Tony Storm, who is Australian, in a match with I don't give a fuck who? She could be in a tag team match. It could be Tony Storm and the Iconics versus Asuka, Naomi, and whoever else, Carmella. I don't care. Why is Tony Storm not on this thing? She is Australian. I guarantee you, if you put Tony Storm on this card, you would probably sell more tickets. Tony Storm is a hot commodity in the wrestling business, in the wrestling scene right now. Tony Storm. If you put Tony Storm on this show somehow in some kind of match, I guarantee you they would sell a lot more tickets than you are. Yes, you have Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, and Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy, out of those three, is killing it, and is probably the hottest commodity coming out of Australia. But I would love to see a Tony Storm versus a Sasha Banks or a Bayley or somebody like that. That would have been great to give you Tony Storm. Just a special appearance by Tony Storm on an Australian show. It would probably be huge for them. But Super Showdown coming to you October 6th at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I am not watching this live because of multiple reasons. Even if my internet is back on at that time, I'm still not watching this live. I'll probably be passed out sleeping. I'm definitely going to be watching this. I'll give you guys a review that day, and hopefully it'll be up by noon, as it should always be. But I am not watching this thing live. It's just, I did it for Beast in the East a couple years ago, and I regretted that for about a week. WWE and Impact, before we get to that, and I will get a review for Super Showdown, whether it's that day or not. It will be done. I will give you guys my best when I can. WWE and Impact officials meet at WWE headquarters, and before I say anything else, WWE is not interested in buying Impact Wrestling, and Impact Wrestling is not interested in selling. Just put that away. Several high-ranking officials met with Impact Wrestling officials at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut last week, according to PW Insider. Impact was represented by Scott D'Amore and Ned Ornhorn. Vince McMahon was not at the meeting, but members of Triple H's team were there. The meeting took place during the middle of last week as Impact officials were returning from the UK, headed to Mexico City for TV tapings. A source described the meeting to PW Insider as a general discussion about the two companies and a chance to get everyone in the same room. Not a specific negotiation of any kind. It's no secret that WWE has worked with Impact since Anthem purchased them, paying to license footage of WWE Champion AJ Styles to Hardy's Broken Universe storyline, and Impact source stressed that the meeting had nothing to do with the sale of Impact as a company or its state library, as neither are for sale. Apparently, WWE requested this, not Impact Wrestling. WWE themselves requested this meeting. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Zone newsletter, it was noted that the meeting was not Impact pitching ideas, which was originally reported in this week's issue of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Meltzer added that there was no substantial news out for this meeting as of yet. I will have an update as soon as I can. At least I will have an update probably next week. If there's anything big about this, then like tomorrow, like today, because I will have this up at noon. I do tape this the night before, but if anything breaks on this entire thing and anything comes out between this, maybe we'll see, because it was Triple H's guys. It wasn't Vince McMahon's group. It was Triple H's guys, the Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and all them, most likely. Would we see in the future? I know Vince McMahon would probably have a heart attack. NXT, Impact Wrestling, Super Show, something. I don't know. It would be fucking amazing. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe we'll see talent exchange. Maybe we'll see an NXT invasion, which I'm going to just say right now, I fucking hate invasion angles. I will go into that at the end of this. Stay towards the end of the video because I will talk to you why I fucking hate invasion angles and the last few that I've seen. But maybe we see some kind of Impact Wrestling and NXT talent exchange. They did that once before when Ric Flair was being inducted into the Hall of Fame for the second time with the Four Horsemen. He was working for TNA Impact. So WWE had to go talk to Impact, and Impact which if you see something else to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, I'm pretty sure they did this during one of their episodes, which I believe was Impact was AJ's TNA run. I could be wrong, but they did shed light on this entire situation of when Ric Flair needed to come to the Hall of Fame and they wanted something in return, and that was Christian, that they had come to Slammiversary, which if you go watch that Slammiversary back, Christian wanted no part of being there. You could just tell he did not want to be there, but he was just filling in contractual obligation that he had to go do. So if anything comes out between now and next week, we will talk about it next week on Unscripted. We will have an extra if something does come out tomorrow or today. Update on WrestleMania Access location. As we reported last week, WrestleMania Access has been finding not having a good time trying to find a spot, and Madison Square Garden is off the table because of the Supercard, the G1 Supercard. WWE wants to swear off of them completely for right now. And any report going out there that WWE and Vince McMahon has talked to Madison Square Garden's officials about nixing G1 Supercard, that is not going to happen. That is not happening. Vince McMahon hasn't talked to anybody from Madison Square Garden. And quite honestly, with tickets being sold and the advertisement going, and Vince McMahon tried to stoop so low as to do that, I guarantee you Sinclair, which is worth more, and I've checked this, Sinclair Broadcasting is worth more than the WWE, mind you, could, I don't know, probably sue and probably win for breach of contract with Madison Square Garden and try and probably sue the WWE as well. It's one thing if they sign on the dotted line and nothing's been sold, none of the advertisements have happened yet, and WWE calls up and says, nix it. I think after the signing, but if they're talking and they go to draw up the contract, if nothing's signed yet, Vince can call up and yeah, you're gonna nix that because we have a agreement that you're going to abide by. But all this stuff is having advertisements. The tickets are sold out. If Vince McMahon even thinks of trying to take out G1 Supercard, I'm telling you right now, Sinclair Broadcasting will sue and own the WWE by the time it's all over with. I'm just telling you that right now. Anyway, WWE officials recently conducted a site survey at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in Newark, New Jersey, and as noted before, they have recently visited the Lincoln Center in New York City to see about using the venue for WrestleMania 35 week. Word is that the Lincoln Center was not being considered for access, but it could be used for one of the other company's presentations during WrestleMania week. Maybe the Hall of Fame. I don't know. That's going to be at the Barclays Center. Never mind. WWE is cleared in concussion lawsuit. Hold on. Yeah. WWE is a multi-million-dollar business, and by the way, yes, they are a multi-million-dollar corporation. Sinclair Broadcasting, going back on that, is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So if anybody's like, no, they're not, WWE can buy Sinclair. No, motherfuckers. If WWE, and as I said before, if WWE and Vince McMahon tries to nix G1 Supercard after everything that's already gone and it's sold out and everything, Sinclair will sue and be the owners of the WWE by the time it's all said and done with. The Sinclair Broadcasting can buy Vince McMahon and sell Vince McMahon for half the price, for double the price. Anyway, and like other businesses, it is accessible to being sued by former employees or contractors, in this case, the WWE superstars. Some of the biggest lawsuits that WWE has faced in recent years are related to concussions. Well, I mean, it is wrestling. What do you expect? On Monday, WWE finally received resolution of those suits as Judge Vanessa L. Bryant of the United States District Court of Connecticut officially dismissed all concussion-related lawsuits against the WWE. Dozens of former WWE superstars had sued company regarding a lack of transparency and protection in regards to their health. These suits specifically brought up concussion, CTE, and other head trauma injuries that can be suffered from competing in the ring. But Judge Bryant has ruled that WWE is not liable for those head and brain injuries. Yeah. I'm just going to say it right now. Anybody who sues, like the WWE, NFL, or any of these things, and you worked for the NFL, the WWE, or any other sports thing in the 90s or early 2000s, you have no lawsuits. You had absolutely no lawsuit because the CTE wasn't even I don't even think CTE was even a thing until recently. Concussions, yeah, they made jokes about it on TV and stuff, but concussions, they didn't know back in the 90s and early 2000s how bad concussions are. We have more information now. You can't be like, oh, well, they knew this all along. No. Medical science gets advanced more and more every day, but we did not, like us as we are now, didn't know the severity of concussions and everything back then. This isn't the first time that Bryant has ruled in favor of WWE regarding a federal concussion lawsuit. In April, she cleared WWE from a suit filed by two former stars, Big Vito and Evan Singleton, who never competed on the main roster and probably didn't last that long in development. The evidence does not support a finding that WWE knew of a risk that repeated head injuries incurred while performing as professional wrestlers could cause permanent degenerated neurological conditions, Judge Bryant said in regards to the case. So yeah, WWE again out of the woods of the concussion lawsuits. Like I said, first and foremost, WWE, if WWE knew about concussions like they do now, Mick Foley would not have taken 11, 12 nasty chair shots to his head. The Attitude Era would not have been filled with chair shots to the head. Vince McMahon himself. Vince McMahon has always gone out there and said he will not ask somebody to do something he will not do himself. How many times did Vince McMahon take a chair shot to the head in the Attitude Era? I'm just going to throw that out there. How many times? Do you really think if Vince McMahon knew the severity to concussions and other head injuries during that time, I don't care what the ratings did, you could have still killed WCW without all the chair shots to the head. Do you really think Vince McMahon would have went out there and allowed somebody to whack him on the head with a chair, or allow anyone else to take a whack to the head on the chair, like whack from a chair on the head? No. I mean, look at Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was forced to retire for about 2 years because of concussions, and most of the time it wasn't even because they knew about his concussions. Half the time, and that's another thing that other people don't seem to realize. Football players do it all the goddamn time. They've been more lenient on it. They've been more rough on it. They've been more laser focused on it now than they were back then. But a lot of the football players would take a hard hit probably have a concussion, tell the coach, no, I'm fine, I'm going back in. Until recently, they could do that. Now, if you take a hard hit and you're down and you're like looking juicy and stuff, you're not allowed to go back in the game. There's a difference in WWE. Like, wrestlers could have a concussion, and half the time they're not going to tell the medical staff that they have a concussion, because why would you want to do that? You're going to be taken off TV, and you're going to miss significant time. I mean, Corey Graves is still retired from wrestling because he was susceptible to concussions. He doesn't even want to come back and like try and do what Daniel Bryan did, because he's good at what he does when he's actually allowed to be himself. But the concussion thing, it's like, oh, I took headshots to my head 4 or 5 times a week. WWE knew this was going to hurt me, and they allowed me to do it anyway. You're full of shit. Plain and simple, you're full of shit. 2005, nobody probably knew as bad as it is, like how bad concussions were back then. There were still chair shots to the head until the Chris Benoit murders, the Benoit family got murdered. And I'm going to say it like that every fucking time. Don't at me. But this case was going to get thrown out. It was just a matter of time. Any fucking time somebody sues WWE who worked, it's like you had Demolition in this lawsuit. I'm sorry. When did you wrestle for WWE last? Last time I remember Demolition was in WWE was what, 90s, early 80s, like late 80s, early 90s. One member of the noise was the Repo Man at the beginning of the Monday Night Raw. So at the start of Monday Night Raw, it's like, no. You have no ground. And the reason that the New Day, and everybody, here's a little spoiler for you. The reason the New Day beat Demolition's record for longest reigning tag team championship reign was because Demolition was a part of the concussion lawsuit. WWE does not like when, they'll punish you the way they can, and the big talk about, the only thing a lot of people remember Demolition for was their tag team title reign, and that got taken away from them because they decided to go against WWE with being a part of the concussion lawsuit. Just one of those things that people need to learn, that just because you did something for so long, and I think even Sabu was in this, and I'm like, well, Sabu, you wrestled for WWE for a little while, and I don't understand. You've done way worse in other places. That's just like if a guy like Jimmy Havoc, who is the king of the death match now, and this dude needs to go and slow it down because his career is going to be shorter than most people. He could go out there and get concussion after concussion after concussion and say, well, I'm going to sue these people here because they didn't protect me well enough. Well, you work with an independent promotion. I'm going to Ring of Honor. I got a concussion there. I'm going to sue them. But Jimmy, you've been doing this for so long. You know what you're getting into. It's just like football players and everything else. You get into a fucking sport that is a contact sport, you are going to get hurt, and it's all in your head. Unless you got some kind of magic padding, I don't even care if you got some of that foam felt. Unless you have something in your head that keeps your brain stationary and it does not move. When you move your head around, you're going to hurt your head. You're going to get concussions. It just happens. Anthony Davis, I think it was his second year. It was a big deal that he was coming back to play his first game in Chicago because he's a Chicago-born guy. A minute or so into the game, he takes an elbow. It wasn't even a big elbow. It was just a graze to the side of his head, and he was out with a concussion. It's just, they can happen at any time. I could walk out of this room, and I could open my door and not pay attention and whack my head with that door on accident and get a concussion. That's how easy concussions are. It's just, they can happen. There's some people who can take multiple shots to the head and be fine. There's people who could just take one little nudge to the head and they're getting a concussion. It's like WWE, and the science for concussion, CT and everything else has come a long way, but there is still a lot more to go. The fact that you're going to have someone sit there and say, oh, well, concussions, like WWE knew what was happening. It just doesn't work like that. Come on, guys. Enough of the suing thing. It's just you people trying to get desperate and get more money out of WWE than you actually think you should get. I mentioned enough on that. Let's move on here. Lashley wants to turn heel and feud with the SmackDown star. And when I first read this, when I saw that headline, I'm like, Daniel Bryan? Oh, okay, that's cool. No. This one's even better. By returning to WWE in 2018, Bobby Lashley is right back where his professional career started. He was with WWE from 2004 to 2008, before leaving for the Indies, TNA, and mixed martial arts. But Lashley went on the Big J show and explained why he left WWE in 2008 and what brought him back in 2018. He said, and I quote, "I wanted to work with some of the people that I probably would have never had the opportunity to work with before," Lashley said about why he left for the Indies. He also said that various wrestlers view the Indies as paying your dues in the wrestling business. Since Lashley went straight from amateur wrestling to the WWE, he wanted to respect the business by working the indie scene at some point in his career. I will have to disagree on that, but also agree, yes, working the indies for most is paying your dues. But the Performance Center now, and developmental back then, you're still paying your dues. Like, if he went from amateur wrestling to the main roster, if you go from, like, amateur wrestling just to the main roster, like I think Mark Henry did. Mark Henry went from amateur wrestling to his debut was, like, I think, right away. That's not paying your dues. And, of course, yes, he was taken off TV and eventually, but, like, just going to developmental, I mean, look at the Velveteen Dream. I mean, yeah, he did a little indies, or Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin is homegrown. He came from NFL and came in. He went to Performance Center. He trained. He worked his butt off. And he became a jobber first. There was actually a couple matches on NXT where he was actually a jobber. I missed those because that was before WWE Network version. And he eventually became a main star in NXT before he came up to the main roster. And look at him now. He's the acting general manager. Just because you don't work the indies doesn't mean, especially if you go to developmental in WWE, like say OVW back in the day, DSW, Deep South Wrestling, or FCW, or now NXT, doesn't mean you're not paying your dues. If you start from scratch in the Performance Center, like some people do, you're paying your dues just in a different way. Most people, like an Adam Cole, like a Ricochet, like the War Raiders, like Johnny Organo, Tommaso Ciampa, Candice LeRae, they paid their dues on the indies. But not everybody pays their dues on the indies. There are people who go to, there are multiple people probably that we don't know of who are paying their dues right now in the Performance Center and are going to be better for it when they get to NXT. It's just, it's different. It was probably perceived differently back then in 2008. I really don't remember Lashley being on the independent scene, but of course, back in 2008, the indie scene 2008 to 10 years later is two totally different animals. I can tell you that right now. Leaving WWE also gave Lashley an opportunity to compete in MMA, and he fought in promotions such as Strikeforce and Bellator. After he ran its course, he was simply waiting for the call to return where it all began. He said the MMA part was to show people that I can do it. Said who has a 15-2 MMA record. By the way, Strikeforce was bought by UFC, and Bellator is like Impact Wrestling to the WWE. It's like Bellator is to UFC like Impact Wrestling is to WWE. It's the minors. It is. Or where old UFC guys who UFC doesn't want anymore can go and fight. I was kind of waiting for that opportunity to open up the door so I could come back to WWE, so that's how I made it back. The door opened and I came running. Now that he's back in WWE, Lashley says he's most looking forward to having a feud with another former TNA star, AJ Styles. No, not while I was in TNA. Lashley responded when asked if he worked with Styles before. He was going out while I was coming in, and he was involved in these other things. The thing with AJ is a crazed good guy meets a crazed bad guy. When I flip the switch and you see that bad side of me, I'm like I had in TNA, I believe I'm a perfect person to AJ's good. I would agree with that. I think Bobby Lashley, which we would have to wait till next year when the Superstar Shakeup. Well, we have to wait till next year with the Superstar Shakeup where Bobby Lashley goes to SmackDown and AJ Styles stays on SmackDown, or B, AJ Styles comes to Monday Night Raw, which you know Vince McMahon wants AJ Styles to come to Monday Night Raw. If I was AJ Styles, if I was WWE and AJ Styles should stay on SmackDown and be this generation's Undertaker. Outside of the early stages of the last brand split, which was I think the first 6 months or first few months, when they did the like talent freeze and like all rosters were going to be set after a Monday and Thursday episode of SmackDown and Raw back in 2002. Undertaker lost a match on that Monday Night Raw to Triple H for what was supposed to be the number one contender to the Undisputed Championship, but of course Brock Lesnar signed an exclusive deal with SmackDown. We get to Thursday, and the very last person who actually gets added to SmackDown was The Undertaker. And The Undertaker from 2002 until I believe 2010, but 2010 or 11 when when the brand split was pretty much dead and he started becoming a once a year wrestler. Undertaker was pretty much SmackDown the entire time. He was Blue Brand. He was SmackDown. Him and Edge, except for Edge was on Raw for a couple years, but him and Edge for the majority of that brand split were SmackDown. So AJ Styles should stay on SmackDown, not because he couldn't handle Monday Night Raw, but because, as he says, SmackDown Live is the house that AJ Styles built. I think he should stay on SmackDown for the remainder of his WWE career, whether that's the end of this year, next year, or the year after that. So you always have that one star on SmackDown. Roman's not going anywhere for a while. Roman's going to be that star on Monday Night Raw for the foreseeable future. Roman is Raw's top ace for WWE, even though nobody wants him. AJ needs to be SmackDown's top ace, and they don't go anywhere. Everyone else on the rosters can flip, but AJ Styles and Roman Reigns should stay where they are. Just how I feel. And yes, I would love to see Bobby Lashley come to SmackDown, turn heel, and AJ Styles would probably bring the best out of Bobby Lashley. And you see AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. It would not be on this level, but I think AJ Styles with a heel Bobby Lashley could put on a pretty good, if done right, if booked right, which WWE's booking does not bode well with that. But if it was booked right, AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley could probably be one hell of a feud next year. Mixed Match Challenge is not going so well with these injuries. They already had Alexa Bliss, who's out for a little while, and Ember Moon replaced her. So we have Monster Eclipse with Ember Moon and Braun Strowman. Now, another Mixed Match Challenge team is getting a shakeup due to injury. This time it's Sasha Banks, who is out with an undisclosed injury and will actually be out for the entirety of this season. And Bobby Lashley will now team with Mickie James. These two competitors know each other very well, as a little over a decade ago they were both on top at WWE. I don't think that's true. At the same time, and we're even in TNA Wrestling at the same time, very briefly. However, this may be the first time that they've actually had an extended interaction on camera. Obviously, the most important part is Sasha Banks. There has been no news on what her injury is. I will have an update on Monday Night Raw's review because she is, if there is any update, I will have an update on Monday Night Raw's review this coming Tuesday morning because she is a Raw superstar, and it's just like, it's not something that I think I should wait and I should have to hold off until Unscripted next week. So I will have, if there is any news on Sasha Banks by Monday Night Raw, I will have, if it's mentioned on Raw and they say how long she's going to be out, I'll talk about it during the Raw review. If not, it will be the first thing we talk about before we get into the actual review. So if there is anything on Sasha Banks, I will talk about it on Monday or Tuesday morning. This one, I don't know if anyone really cares about Kurt Hawkins, but this one was kind of interesting. As we all know, Kurt Hawkins is on a very, very big losing streak. He is probably going to lose more matches than Oscar won, he's definitely passed Goldberg up on the opposite with 200 and some losing, a 200 and some losing streak match. But this streak could have ended, but Kurt Hawkins begged for that to change. Kurt Hawkins is currently perhaps his most memorable run on his WWE career, despite a historic losing streak of 200-plus matches. Hawkins joined Sam Roberts' podcast to discuss how he embraced the streak and why he does not let the match result determine his performance in the ring. He said, "My main priority has always been to do the best I can, or whatever situation that I've been placed in. I have always tried to do my best, or whatever match I am in, I try to steal the show in regards of what I am allowed to be doing. So I was just doing my thing," said Hawkins. "What really sparked it all was that there was some online article that said Kurt Hawkins just lost his 100th match in a row. I think that I'm not taking shots at anyone else, but most of my colleagues would be upset at that sort of thing. There's been times since that article where I was having matches. In particular, I had a match on main event against Heath Slater that I was supposed to win. But I thought, wait, hold it, no, please, no. This could be something. There's no sense of ending the story on main event. Who begs to lose matches? I literally did that. I literally did that, though, where I said that I can't win matches, and they were cool about it in the first place, where they were telling me that I did a good job and that I am going to win a match, but I was like, no, you don't understand." Hawkins has taken the approach that so many other wrestlers taken, that they want to be the absolute best at what they do. He may not be winning any matches, but that still makes him the best at losing. But with all those losses piling up, it does often difficult to keep track of where the streak stands. When you're a main eventer like Goldberg, you can have someone keep track of your streak, but Hawkins has to resort to other ways to keep track of his consecutive losses. Or he could just go on Twitter and just put a new, like, just lost my 250th match, and you know. It's tough at times because I'm doing the live events, I'm doing this thing, and says I lose to someone at live events. I would then say it wasn't ready, it was BS, and I'm not going anywhere until I have another opponent, and then Braun Strowman comes out, so I end up losing like 6 times in a weekend before I get up to TV. David Hawkins, it's got to be to the point rather quickly that I have to put the streak number on my Instagram and Twitter profile after every match, otherwise I will forget because I don't remember where it's at. Another thing that sparks is that I have to end up doing is that when fans meet me now and want my autograph more times than not, they ask me to rate where I'm at, like how many losses in a row I have, and it's like 4:30 in the morning and my brain isn't fully working at that moment, so I just have to check on Twitter or Instagram, so it really helps to have that information. I have been racking them up at certain points. At some point, the streak will come to an end, to a victorious end, and Hawkins may even start a winning streak. I doubt that, but for now, he's living in the moment and enjoying the reaction that fans give him to events. It has made it a lot more fun to perform because people are more invested in what I am doing. Not really," said Hawkins, whose streak sits at 219 losses. "As of this writing, no longer am I me as someone who loses matches. They are more intrigued now, and it is fun as a performer." The only time wrestling fans were even intrigued really was when you were in Houston and you were facing a jobber, and you're like, if I win, everybody gets free tacos, and everyone was like, win a match so we can get free tacos. I believe Baron Corbin came out, flipped the taco stand, and then beat up on the jobber, so Kurt Hawkins lost another match. The only way I could see this ending is you get a fluky roll-up, or he wins the WrestleMania Battle Royal next year. That's the only two ways I see this, is we get a Horowitz wins line from, like, Hawkins wins from Michael Cole on Raw, or we get this whole entire thing to go to WrestleMania, and Kurt Hawkins, we get the Flip Gordon treatment. He gets the Flip Gordon treatment at WrestleMania. If you didn't watch all in, then you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Where in the WrestleMania Battle Royal, he gets laid out at the beginning of the match. It gets down, that's at the beginning of the match when there's like 30 or so people in the ring. It gets down to the final, who you think are the final 4. And it gets down to who you think is the winner. And then, all of a sudden, Kurt Hawkins comes in and eliminates whoever that is, and boom, streak over. Kurt Hawkins wins the Battle Royal, and then goes back to irrelevancy right after that. So, that's just, I found that interesting that someone wants, that takes dedication, though. That takes dedication. And, something you feel invested in yourself. Fans may not give a fuck, but you're invested yourself, and you want to make this a big deal, even though it's probably not going to be a big deal when it's done and over with. So, Kurt Hawkins, well, if he's going to do it, then he's going to do it. But, yeah. Do you really care? Let me know in the comment section below. I believe we have one more. Yes, we do. Daniel Bryan says he was ready to accept retirement until given the general manager gig by WWE. Daniel is back in the ring after a brief retirement. On Booker T's heated, let's talk about that return. A lot of people are like critical with WWE's booking of Daniel Bryan since he's come back from WrestleMania. But you got to also understand that up until recently, when he signed his new contract, nobody, like WWE, didn't know what Daniel Bryan was going to do. Was he going to sign? Was he not going to sign? Nobody knew. So what were they going to do? Have him start a feud with like AJ Styles of the WWE Championship, or a feud with Rusev or whoever, and have them go and do a high-profile feud and try and stretch it all the way to the end of the year, and then when September 1st came around, Daniel Bryan left? WWE was not going to do that. They gave him the Big Cass feud. The Big Cass feud was going to be trash. But after that, he was just floating around. There was nothing they could do until we get the contract signed. And now we have Daniel Bryan versus The Miz at Super Showdown. We had it at SummerSlam, Hell in a Cell with their wives. And after Super Showdown, I don't want to see another Daniel Bryan versus The Miz match until we get to WrestleMania. Will we have that happen? Most likely not. Daniel Bryan said it was a real struggle for a long time. Bryan said, I think it's because I had been doing this for my entire adult life. I started wrestling when I was 18 years old. I think one of the things is that wrestling is how I dealt with things. So when bad things would happen in your life, whatever it is, like, okay, I had this creative outlet that was wrestling. I never cared about how much money I made or anything like that. If something's kind of going wrong, that's okay. I get used to my creativity. One of the hard things, especially about it when I had to retire, was that my dad had passed away. Now the way that I relate to that, I just didn't properly know how to grieve. I'm sitting at home and my wife is on the road, and this is actually before I retired after my neck surgery. So I just really didn't have this outlet to release this kind of thing. That's going to suck, though, because somebody like that who uses wrestling, this goes for anybody who's like really creative. Me, with me and my podcast and everything I do here, this stuff helps me get everything that's been bogging me down. It goes away while I'm doing my Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Mae Young Classic, or Unscripted, pay-per-view reviews, and all that stuff. So for 45 minutes to an hour or whatever a day on those things, I'm not thinking of things that are keeping me like hurting me and like hitting me hard emotionally, mentally, or anything like that. Daniel Bryan uses wrestling. Basketball players use basketball. From whistle to whistle, like from the first whistle to the final buzzer, those players, like, okay, Isaiah Thomas last year in the fucking NBA, not last year, but the previous year, 2016 or 2017's NBA playoffs, his sister died right before those playoffs, and he went out there on a bad hip and played like no one else could play. Like, he was, like, from the time that first whistle hit to the time that final buzzer hit in each of those games after the tragedy of his family, he was Isaiah Thomas, the basketball player, and nothing else mattered at that time because he had something to let out. He had something to let out his emotions, and his emotions could play through him. That's the same thing Daniel Bryan does. But when his dad passed, he was injured. He couldn't do anything. So it's got to be really hard for that. That's just how it is with things. Like, if you have a family member or somebody in your life pass away, if you have no way to let out that like emotion, it's going to be really hard on you. It just is what it is. Like, if somebody in my family would pass away, which hopefully, let's hope not right now, it's just how it is. But if somebody was to do that, I would still find a way to do Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and pay-per-view review or pay-per-view preview predictions, unscripted, and review if they're up for that, because it helps take my mind off of things. I can really relate to that with Daniel Bryan. Another thing, Daniel Bryan's really relatable. I can relate to that entire thing. For some time, it was thought that Daniel Bryan would never wrestle again, or at least in WWE. There were rumors that Bryan would leave WWE once his contract had expired. That Bryan noted that those rumors were true. 100% true, Bryan said. So I had just signed a contract before I had my last concussion, which was when they put me up, but they hadn't signed their side of the contract. So this is when I started to get popular and all that kind of stuff. They were like, okay, we're going to give you a bigger contract and all kind of stuff. Then they took that away, and this is how I relate to people that don't understand the passion that I have for wrestling, because financially, too, it was a big setback. you, Booker T, know me, know we only have so much time doing this, so there was that, but the thing was that I wasn't able to do this thing that I was passionate about, despite the fact that I had been cleared by multiple doctors, and these weren't my doctors. It's not like I went to some quack. These were doctors that WWE sent me to. The weirdest thing about it is I probably would have been satisfied with and accepted my retirement if they hadn't sent me to be general manager, because it was so soon after I retired. If you call soon, let's see, about 4 or 5 months. That's not really soon, but I guess it is soon because it's less than a year. They hadn't sent me to be the GM because it was so soon after I retired. I had signed up for a school. I had signed up for ASU, so I was doing all this different kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to transition my life into more of a home life. But then they brought me back, and it was only a couple months after they forced me to retire. I was sitting at ringside for a Dean Ambrose AJ Styles match, and I'm sitting there. I remember that match. I got a great reaction coming out. I'm sitting there watching the match, and they're getting great reactions. It wasn't wrestling when AJ Styles got into WWE. I wasn't wrestling when AJ Styles got into WWE, and I'm sitting there thinking, what am I doing? I should be in there. I shouldn't be sitting on the sidelines. Before Bryan would make his in-ring return, there was a point where he thought that he would never wrestle again. That thought didn't last very long for Bryan, except for the moment where it felt final. There was only a certain point after I retired that I thought I had never going to do it again. Actually, once they brought me back as GM and once I had sat ringside for that match, I thought, you know what? Once my contract is up, I'm going to wrestle one way or another. I never went to that point where I was like, I'm never going to be able to do this thing I love again. The day I retired, it felt like that for the next couple of months after it felt like that. The day that I retired was actually very difficult because and I was trying to come at it with the point of view of acceptance and gratitude, but this idea that I didn't want to be bitter about it, I don't want to be sad about it in the way that I presented it. Bryan is scheduled to face The Miz at Super Showdown on October 6th in Australia. To hear the entire interview with Bryan, listen to the episode of Heated Conversation this past week or a couple days ago. But yes, Daniel Bryan, yes, I knew that he was. If WWE was not going to clear him, he wouldn't have been at All In, but he would be at. He would definitely been at Wrestle Kingdom next year in the G1 Supercard. WWE had to sign Daniel Bryan. They had to. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They had to sign Daniel Bryan. But yeah, if they didn't bring him back to GM SmackDown, Daniel Bryan would have been done with wrestling. Daniel Bryan would not have been a wrestler anymore. But yeah, you got to think, when he says that he was watching AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose, I believe that was not their match at. Was that their match at Backlash where AJ Styles cheated to win? I don't think so. But anyway, like yeah, that was when he was looking at himself and was like, I want to continue to do this. It's really hard for a guy who has been retired for about 5 months when that happened, that he's just sitting there like, I want to wrestle, but they're not letting me. If they're not going to let me, fine, I'm going to go do it somewhere else, and they don't like it too damn bad. So Vince McMahon or somebody was realizing, well, fuck, Daniel Bryan's contract comes up on September 1st. If we don't get this guy to return by WrestleMania, we're going to lose one of the hottest commodities in wrestling. Daniel Bryan really forced their hand. That is all the news for this week. I hope, and Daniel Bryan, well, before we say that again, Daniel Bryan coming back as GM was probably the best thing to happen to Daniel Bryan, because if Daniel Bryan does not come back as GM, then Daniel Bryan we see today is not here. Daniel Bryan we see today is at home doing something else, and Daniel Bryan we see today would not be seen on WWE TV minus Total Divas or Total Bellas. So I think WWE bringing Daniel Bryan back as GM was probably the best decision they could have made. That's all the news for this week, but I want to talk about the invasion angle that I said, like, this is just something I'm going to rant about for a minute. I absolutely fucking hate invasion angles. Why do I hate invasion angles? Well, one, they never fucking work. The last invasion angle that I saw was Defiant Wrestling, which is going to be coming back with Loaded in December. I did not have that on my news. But if you are a fan of British wrestling, Defiant Wrestling will be coming back to YouTube with the Loaded show. But last year, when WCPW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, changed their name to Defiant, Austin Aries joined, quote unquote, joined the roster for the TV show, and he won the world title. All of a sudden, two people from IPW came out and attacked, and him and IPW invaded Defiant Wrestling, and it became a war between IPW and Defiant. Why do invasion angles never fucking work? Because the invading force 99.9% of the time will always, or 100% of the time, always loses. Now, of course, yes, we had the WCW invasion that went wrong. That was not going to work at all. I don't care. Like, people want to sit there and say, oh, well, if you had Sting, if you had Goldberg, if you had Flair, if you had Hogan, Hall, and Nash, and all the big names for the invasion, it would have worked. Are you people out of your fucking mind? Do you see how WWE treated the mid-card? It doesn't matter if it was Sting, Hogan, Hall, and Nash. Maybe because they were WWF guys at one time. But Sting, Goldberg, if you would have brought those two in, those two would have been buried by Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon would have made those two look inferior to his guys. You would have had a Goldberg going out there and getting beat by Stone Cold Steve Austin. A Goldberg going out there and getting beat by The Rock. Goldberg getting beat by Taker and Kane. Sting probably getting beat by Chris Jericho, getting beat by everybody. You would have had those two looking inferior. Yes, it's always nice to say, well, if we would have had the big players from WCW, this invasion angle would have been the best thing ever. No, it would not have. It probably would have been worse. It probably would have been worse because WWE took the big names from the names from WCW that you saw and pretty much buried all of them along the way. And the invasion angle would have always been the McMahons. That's where it ended. That's where it would always went to. You had Stephanie and Shane versus Vince McMahon. That was always going to happen. The only difference it would have been is that you would have had Goldberg and Sting, Hogan, Hall, and Nash behind them. It wouldn't have fucking mattered who was on WCW on the Alliance side. That thing would have been a dud because anybody with a brain would have seen that it's just about the McMahons. That's the only thing that invasion angle was for, was just about the fans. Let's talk about Impact Wrestling, Global Force Wrestling. This is before they had the merger that failed because, Jeff Jarrett got a little drunk and got fired. I don't remember exactly where this one started, but Jeff Jarrett came back to Impact Wrestling brought Jeff Jarrett back so they could buy his shares, because when Jeff Jarrett left Impact Wrestling a couple years before him, I think it was 2012 when he left, he still owned a small percentage of TNA Impact Wrestling. So they brought him back to buy his shares, induct him into the Hall of Fame, and then what did they do? They did an invasion angle where it was Global Force Wrestling versus Impact Wrestling. You know what? Global Force Wrestling did not do shit. Usually an invasion angle is set up to have a smaller, like a no-name corporate, a no-name, the WCW, the NWO is not an invasion angle. It's not. It is not an invasion angle because Hogan, Hall, and Nash were already were contracted by WCW. It could have been portrayed as an invasion angle as it was, but it was not a legit invasion angle. An invasion angle is when you would have guys, and especially with the way wrestling is nowadays, you can't really buy an invasion angle. Maybe in the 80s it could have worked because kayfabe was still around, but you do know somebody is going to nobody shows up on Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, NXT UK, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor TV, or any other wrestling promotion without a contract signed. So who's benefiting from this invasion angle? Nobody. Nobody benefited from IPW's invasion of Defiant. Nobody benefited from Global Force Wrestling invading Impact Wrestling. Nobody benefited from WCW, ECW Alliance versus WWE. The only one, if you want to call it an invasion, which would be NWO, that benefited WCW for about 82 weeks, and then it died. The invasion angles do not work. I can't stand them. Anytime an invasion angle is done, it is just pathetic. If you want to say the Shield invading Monday Night Raw, or the Nexus, the Nexus was supposed to be an invasion angle because you had the Nexus, the NXT Season 1 guys come in and beat the hell out of everybody on Raw. One of the greatest moments in Raw history. What happened? John Cena happened. John Cena happened and killed any potential that angle had. Invasion angles are probably one of the worst angles in wrestling history. I can't stand them, and anytime something happens, like, oh, Impact Wrestling's invading NXT, changing the channel, or NXT's invading Monday Night Raw, change the channel, because you can't buy it. I just can't buy it. Like, the invasion of Raw to SmackDown and SmackDown and Raw the last 2 years for Survivor Series is cringy as fuck. Because you go the entire year, and this is going to piss me off even more this year. You have the entire year, since WrestleMania, this year is going to be even worse. Since WrestleMania this year, every pay-per-view has been dual branded. We have Crown Jewel on November 2nd. November, whatever the fuck it is, next Monday, I guarantee you're going to have SmackDown superstars showing up on Raw to beat up Monday Night Raw. So, what did you do at Backlash? What did you do at Summit? What did you do at the Greatest Royal Rumble? What did you do on WrestleMania? What did you do at Backlash and Survivor and Money in the Bank and Extreme Rules and SummerSlam and Hell in a Cell and Super Showdown and all these other mains? Why don't you have these things happening every fucking week and every fucking month, especially with dual branded pay-per-views? Do you cut the building in half to separate the superstars until we get the Survivor Series? It's just pathetic. But back to invasion angles. It's just one of the worst. It's just one of the worst, and it never goes well. It's just something you can't buy. Yeah, to the simple mind, and it's like, oh my god, that guy doesn't work here. If the guy shows up on TV, he works there, whether it's for that night and that night only, or a couple of dates. It's just not feasible to see an invasion angle anymore, especially if you're somebody for smart marks. I would say for most wrestling fans, like if Impact Wrestling, if like Johnny Impact showed up on Monday Night Raw on Monday and was invading Monday Night Raw, it wouldn't. I'd be like, oh my god, they're doing an invasion angle. Are you fucking kidding me? What's going on? It's Monday Night Football, and that's how I would feel. Because invasion angles are just terrible. I can't stand them. Let me know what you think about invasion angles down below, as long as everything else you saw tonight. You heard today. I'll be back on Tuesday for Monday Night Raw preview, review and results show, and then of course Wednesday for SmackDown, Thursday for NXT, Friday for the Mae Young Classic, and we'll be here again for Unscripted episode 38 next week. And make sure to hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like this video or dislike it, whatever you prefer, and make sure to have a nice day. I will see you guys on Tuesday, of course. And until then, my name is Franz. I will see you guys later. Peace.